All right, let's get right into this. Have you ever wondered what it actually took to be seen as an ideal man, say, over 120 years ago? Well, today, we're basically unboxing a time capsule. It's a guidebook for young men from 1903 called Stepping Stones to Manhood, and we're going to see what it said were the absolute must-haves for a successful, manly life back then. The author, William P. Pierce, puts his mission right on the title page. This wasn't just a rule book, it was meant to be a book of inspiration. You know, he dedicated it to his own son and to the boys of this great nation, hoping to give them a real roadmap for life.
So this whole explainer, it really boils down to this one big question. According to this guide, what did you really have to do to become a model man in 1903? And the answers, as you're about to see, are, well, they're both totally familiar and at the same time from another planet.
Okay, so the book starts at square one, the absolute foundation. These are the pillars of character. Pierce believed these were the non-negotiables, the virtues every single young man had to build his life on.
The first pillar is politeness. But it's not just about saying please and thank you. The book's definition is so much deeper. It calls politeness benevolence in little things. So it wasn't about fake manners. It was about real kindness and making small, everyday sacrifices for other people.
And get this, the consequences for being impolite could be massive. The book tells this story about a telegram clerk who got snippy with an old man, told him off for not signing a message right. Well, that old man turned out to be Lord John Russell, a super famous government minister. The clerk's rudeness cost him his job, right there on the spot. Next up is a virtue the book says is even more important: truthfulness. It's described as, and I quote, the foundation stone of character. Basically, if you weren't truthful, your whole life was built on nothing but sand. To show just how powerful truth could be, the guide tells this wild story. A young Persian boy gets held up by robbers, and he straight up tells them he has gold sewn into his coat. Why? Because he promised his mom he'd never, ever lie. His honesty completely stuns the robber chief, so much so that the whole gang gives up their life of crime right then and there. So beyond these big virtues, the book gets really practical with these success maxims. You see some advice that's still true today, like have a definite aim. But then you get these really sharp, kind of tactical tips for the time, like make good use of other men's brains. It's this amazing mix of high-minded morals and almost cutthroat, street-smart advice. Okay, so we've seen the virtues you're supposed to build, but what about the things you had to dodge? The book spends a ton of time laying out all the traps, the vices and temptations that could knock a young man right off the path to manhood. When it comes to having fun, the guide draws a very, very hard line. On one side, you have the right kind of fun, the stuff that refreshes the mind and replenishes strength. On the other side, you have the wrong kind, which enfeebles mental powers and, this is key, leads to bad company. There was really no gray area. And the warnings? They get really specific and really intense. Like, take playing cards. The book doesn't just say, maybe don't. No, it says card playing is as dangerous as a revolver in the hands of a child. That's not a friendly tip. That's a dire warning. The theater also gets a lot of heat. And to really ram the point home, the book quotes Edwin Booth, one of the most famous actors of that era, saying he wouldn't even let his own family see a play unless he knew the show and the actors were morally upright. So think about that. Even an insider was deeply wary. The book's next major target is tobacco, and it drops a bomb with this statistic from the time. It claims that 25,000 people were dying from tobacco every single year in the U.S. It just shows how deadly people thought it was, long before our modern medical knowledge. And the attack wasn't just about your physical health. This quote from an official at Northwestern University ties tobacco use directly to failing in school. He says that none of the top students were tobacco users. The message couldn't be clearer. Smoking makes you dumb and corrupts your character. And this is where the warnings get, well, kind of sensational and pretty gross. The guy claims that cigarettes were made from refuse. We're talking old tobacco butts picked up right out of the gutter. Whether it was true or not, you can imagine how a story like that would terrify a young man. So,
After laying out all the virtues to embrace and all the vices to avoid, the book builds to its grand finale. What makes a real hero? And the answer, in one simple word, is duty. This was it, the ultimate expression of a man's character.
To really illustrate this, the book tells this incredible story about a young farm boy. He's given one simple, direct order from his boss. Keep this specific gate shut. Don't let anyone through, no matter what. A little while later, a hunting party shows up, led by this very important-looking man who demands the boy open the gate. The boy refuses. The man gets annoyed and pulls rank, revealing that he is the Duke of Wellington, literally the most famous and powerful man in England. But the boy doesn't budge. An order is an order. But instead of being furious, the Duke is just blown away. He actually takes his hat off to the boy and gives him the highest possible praise, saying, "I honor the man or boy who is faithful to his duty and who can neither be bribed or frightened into doing wrong." That, right there, was heroism.
But the book pushes this whole idea of faithfulness to its absolute chilling limit. The final lesson, the ultimate test of a man's character, was being faithful even when it meant facing a certain painful death.
To hammer this home, the guide tells one final harrowing story from back in 1569. It's about an Arab man named Geronimo Caruba who is captured and tortured, but he absolutely refused to give up his Christian faith. His captor, totally frustrated by Geronimo's refusal to break, ordered this uniquely horrible punishment. He was to be made a permanent part of the fortress wall by being buried alive inside a block of wet concrete.
As they dragged him to the mold and laid him down, Geronimo's last words were totally defiant. "I am a Christian, and as a Christian, I will die." It was the ultimate, final act of commitment to what he believed.
And so the book ends with this powerful biblical promise, the ultimate reward for that kind of unbreakable faith. "Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life." It is such a stark vision of the world, a world of absolute certainties, where your character and your duty were quite literally a matter of life and death. Kind of makes you wonder, what's changed the most since then?